So Fox News is joining Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and others at the MAGA crowd in their attack on teachers. So when I saw this video about teachers, I just felt I had to respond. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. I'm also a lawyer and an academic, and I'm here to help you stand up to the BS of the MAGA crowd. Fox News is talking up the teacher shortage across America. Gee, I wonder why that's happening. Well, when I saw this interview on Fox News addressing this issue, I just felt I had to respond. Let's check it out.
For more on this, let's bring in Jackie Rodriguez. She's vice president of the American Association of Colleges for Teachers Education. Jackie, thanks so much for being with us. Let's start with laying out.
Now, let me start with the fact I actually feel sorry for this guest. She clearly is actually a legitimate person who is coming in to try to address a legitimate issue, which is the fact that teachers aren't paid enough, and that generally speaking, we don't treat them very well considering the important job that they have. But yet, check out how this Fox News host tries to move past that issue as quickly as possible.
The nuts and bolts of this problem. Take a look at this. The top 5 states that are being impacted by the shortage as kids head back now are California, Nevada, Washington, Arizona, and Hawaii.
Okay, we have to stop there because I'm calling BS. I actually looked for the data regarding the top 5 states struggling to find teachers, and they must have looked a long time to find this list. Because universities.com, interestingly enough, is a website that essentially helps people plan for their careers. It isn't something that addresses teacher research. So in other words, it's encouraging people, hey, go to college, get a degree, and look at the great jobs you're going to be able to find. Now, this article, which of course I'll link to down below, doesn't say anything about the fact that these are the top 5 states struggling to find teachers. It's more like these are 5 states that are struggling to find teachers. Actually, it's a list of 10 states, which is interesting that they didn't include those, considering the fact that the rest include a number of key Republican states, but that you can get great jobs in these states by pursuing them. When I actually looked and found research about what states are actually experiencing a teacher shortage, I found very different results. I mean, why don't you check out this map based upon actual research that's been done, not just some kind of online article seeking to encourage people to go to different online universities. Actually, here, when you look at the actual data, you can see that Mississippi, Alabama, Kansas, West Virginia, New Mexico, Wisconsin, Montana, and Maine are the states with the biggest vacancies. You also see large vacancies kind of concentrated down here in the South, as well as Arizona, which we've heard a lot about. Hawaii does have a lot of vacancies, but that has a lot to do with the fact that, frankly, they're kind of isolated, and they make it hard for non-Hawaiians to get jobs there. But the other states that you see here on their list, well, they're not the problem. So what do you think the 5 states that they're pointing to have in common? I wonder. In fact, I think it's telling that they specifically skipped over Florida, for example, where Governor Ron DeSantis, the governor from MAGA, has been basically attacking teachers. And then, oh my gosh, is surprised he can't find enough. So let's actually appoint veterans who don't even have a college degree to fill in those positions. Now, don't get me wrong. Veterans are awesome. It's just that they haven't been trained as teachers. We'll get more to that later. So let's keep watching.
71% of teachers, in addition to this polled, seriously considered quitting over the past 2 years, and average teacher salary today, $66,397. That's down about $2,200 from 2 years ago. This is a massive systemic problem.
Incredible, Jillian, and I really appreciate you bringing national attention to the teacher shortages. Even though those 5 states are the ones we're highlighting today, we're talking about teacher shortages that are pervasive across all of the 50 states. And you hit the...
Okay, I hate to disagree with this person. The data that I've seen, and again, I did some research, is actually the differences in teacher shortages from state to state are actually quite stark. And as The Economist said, which of course is a publication that really tries to report based upon data and actual information. The headline in their article, which of course I'll link to down below, is called "America's New, quote, National Teacher Shortage is Neither New nor National." So let's keep watching.
On the head, teacher salaries have not increased even $30 bi-weekly in the last 25 years. So if we're really going to make systemic changes, that's number one priority for most policy.
Now, I have to agree with her there. I mean, that is the number one priority. The fact that teachers are paid so little is a big problem. And as I stated earlier, I have done a video on that, and I'll link to it at the end of this video where we can talk so you can see more detail about that. But this really emphasizes the fact that this guest actually is a legitimate person who's concerned about education policy. And she's kind of put in the hot seat here a little bit by the Fox News host who really wants to talk about different things. Let's check out how it goes.
Makers is addressing what salaries look like to make sure that they're commensurate with other disciplines.
So while the problem, did not start with the pandemic, already before hundreds of thousands of teachers were quitting every single year, it has certainly been...
Ah, yes, here comes the pandemic. Of course, it's the pandemic's fault and the fault that everybody's required to get vaccinated that teachers are quitting, right? Well, let's check it out.
Exacerbated by this pandemic. Take a listen
Absolutely.
to Dr. Walensky in an interview with Fox's Dr. Mark Siegel yesterday. I want to get your response.
One of the first things I said as vaccinations were rolling out with some controversy was that we did have a capacity to get our kids back to school, even if our teachers, even if everybody wasn't yet vaccinated. So this was always part of our vision, to be able to get back.
Now, I think it's important to note that the interview with Dr. Walensky here, what she was talking about is about the kids not being fully vaccinated. There was never any talk about the teachers not being vaccinated. So let's continue with this.
Back to school and to get safely back to school.
I mean, it's news to me that they always had this vision for unvaccinated people returning to classrooms. Did you ever receive that message during the course of the pandemic from the CDC?
So I think what we need to do is celebrate actually the fact that teachers, regardless of whether they are vaccinated or unvaccinated, continue to not only show up for their students, but to go the extra mile. Every single day we saw teachers walking into classrooms or getting online and teaching students, and then coming home to their own families or being in the living room with their students who are also online. And I want to make sure the American public is really applauding those who are in classrooms or online teaching their students every single day. Given the last 2
Now, this is what we call answering the question you want to answer as opposed to the question that was asked. I give actually this person a lot of credit for the fact that she didn't kind of jump in with both feet into this whole thing of, oh my God, bad vaccinations, that's the reason the teachers are quitting, but instead tried to emphasize the fact that teachers are undervalued in our society, something that certainly I do not disagree with.
2.5 years of trauma that we've all experienced.
Yeah. You said this, it struck a chord with me. I'm going to read it back to you. Teaching is the profession that makes all other professions possible. Unpack
Absolutely.
that for us.
Well, every teacher walks into a classroom with the next generation's livelihood and student life outcomes in their hands. Profession-ready educators, those who are fully certified in classrooms, are ensuring that the next generation of people are not just...
Okay, here's where things get interesting. This guest keeps trying to emphasize the fact that teachers should be fully trained and competent in the skills that are necessary to be able to do their job. This is in contrast with the efforts that are going on in certain Republican states, including, for example, Arizona, where they're trying to make it possible for non-college graduates to be able to teach, or in Florida, where there is a proposal on the table by Governor Ron DeSantis to allow veterans to teach. Now, again, I'm not going to claim that being a veteran isn't valuable experience or a valuable contribution to society. They are. But by the same token, just because someone graduated with a teaching certificate doesn't mean that they're qualified to go out and fight a war in Afghanistan. It's a different set of skills. We should make it possible for veterans to be able to go back and get those skills relatively quickly and at no cost. I mean, the fact that we don't give veterans as many opportunities as they should get, I think, is a moral outrage as well. But watch how the host kind of glosses over this guest's argument of the fact that teachers need to be fully qualified before they're in the classroom.
Just going going into the world ready and capable to be good citizens, but also that's our national and economic stability that they're actually creating for our students. And so when we think about educators, it's not simply a profession that you walk into and start working on and build the plane while you fly it. Education is a profession where you absolutely need to have training, professional development, mentorship, and a long pathway in a career where you can become a teacher leader, become nationally board certified, and then serve students for decades.
And it really is, as you say, Jackie, the profession that makes all others possible. Thanks so much for taking time for us this afternoon. We appreciate it.
Okay, so you can see how quickly this host wanted to move on. Oh my God, God forbid we talk about teachers needing to be qualified. She also wasn't so hip to the idea of talking more about teachers needing to be paid more. It was about, the pandemic and requiring people to be vaccinated. That's the whole reason. We don't mention the attack on teachers by people like Glenn Youngkin of Virginia or Ron DeSantis of Florida, essentially turning our classrooms into forums for the culture wars. So this interview is a great example of how Fox News is constantly trying to gloss over the real arguments, the real issues, to kind of focus on the agenda that they want to push. Well, while we're talking about teachers, why don't you check out this other video I did over here where I talk about the need to pay teachers more and how really that's a big part of the solution to the problem that we have in education in our country. I'll see you then. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.